Hey guys, what's up? Cardfight here, and today I'm here with the Legend / the Great deck profile. You guys have been asking for this, so here it is. Without further ado, let's get right into the deck profile. So, starting Vanguard, we're running Undo. Skill is Generous Pick 1, cost 1, move this card to Soul, search your deck from an Overlord card and add it to your hand, and then shuffle your deck. So, it's Overlord Searcher, pretty self-explanatory. You're gonna need Overlords in your hand, so he's pretty good for that. Next, running for the Legend. This is obviously the Legend deck, so we're gonna run for the Legends. And skill is once per turn, Generous Pick 2, cost 1, choose one Grade 3 Flame Dragon in your hand, discard it, and then during this turn, this card gets plus 15,000 power, grade plus 1, and drive check plus 1, so he gets triple drive. And then he gets a new skill, and that new skill is during this once per turn you can discard 3 cards from your hand, and then after this card attacks your rear guard, you can pay the cost. If you do, stand this unit. So after attacking a rear guard, you just get to stand up and attack again. Too bad he's not. It doesn't work when he attacks Vanguard, or it'll be kind of OP, but it's fine. Second skill is cost 1, so less 1. When this card is placed on Vanguard circle, you can look at the top 5 cards of your deck, search for a Flame Dragon amongst those cards, and then shuffle your deck. So his second skill works pretty much like those keyword searchers, except instead of searching for a keyword card, he searches for Flame Dragons. It's actually pretty useful because you can search out for your perfect card, and also other key cards that you need. So riding him is not bad. Well, in this deck I guess you kind of want to ride him anyway because you're playing the Legend deck. Next, running for the Greats. The Great is an Overlord, and he's kind of like the next best. He's a pretty good combination to run with the Legend because, yeah, they work pretty similarly. You after attack a rear guard and stuff, but I'll just explain the effect first. So he's a Legion card, and it's cost 1. Second skill is cost 1. Choose 2 cards in your hand and discard it. When this card attacks a rear guard at the end of the battle, if this card's in Legion, you can pay the cost. If you do, stand this unit, and during this turn, this effect cannot be used again. Second skill is choose a unit in your Vanguard circle that's a rear guard and retire it. So same name, I mean. And when this card attack hits, you can pay the cost. If you do, choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. So when this card attack hits, you can choose Neoflame or the Great on a rear guard circle and retire it, and then you can retire one of your opponent's rear guards. Not an effect I use a lot, but I guess if you have extra Neoflames on the field that are useless now, you can just pop those to pop another unit. He's also pretty good for opponents that stall because he can Legion. And his effect is not that expensive, it's just kind of less 1. So, pretty good. Alright, next running 3 Neoflame. Neoflame is the Legion mate for the Great, so running 3. He's also pretty good. The skill is when this card is placed on the rear guard circle, during this turn this card gets a new skill, and that new skill is on the rear guard circle, cost 1. When this card, when a unit in the same column as this card is retired, you can pay the cost. If you do, retire another unit in the same column as that. So basically, if you attack with this card and you hit the rear guard in the front, you can pay cost 1 to retire the one in the back too. So it's pretty good for pretty good against cards or decks that rush you. So yeah. Next, running 3 Berserk Dragon. The new Berserk Dragon. Skill is Generous Pick 1, cost 1. When your Grade 4 or above Vanguard attacks, you will pay the cost. If you choose one of your opponent's Grade 2 or lower rear guards and retire them. So, since we're playing with a lot more G cards now, this card is not bad, and you can use this effect every turn. So late game, he's pretty okay. Your opponent only has so many rear guards to replenish. On the other side, we have 2 burnouts. Unlike the cross deck that I have, this deck does not really rely on as much on this, because this deck is more, I guess, late game oriented. So he's mainly here for early game retiring, in case your opponent is, or your opponent's rushing you, and you happen to have an Overlord in your drop zone. But yeah, he's I don't know. You can run more if you want, but currently testing out with some of the newer cards. So, and Berserk Dragon is doing okay for me. All right, next running for Nahalem, Generous Trick 1. If you have Overlord Vanguard, this card gets plus 2,000 power, so he becomes an 11k attacker. And he also gets a new skill, and the new skill is on a Rearguard Circle. Whenever your grade 4 Vanguard attacks, then this card gets plus 5,000 power. So if you use the legend and you attack twice, then he gets plus 10k power, so he becomes a 21k attacker. It's pretty strong. Also works with the ace, so there's that. Grade 1's running for Stride Fodder. A lot of times you're going to keep the Flame Dragon grade 3s in your hand for the great skill, or not the great skill, the legend skill. So you might want to use these to stride earlier if you want. Running 2 tar. You might want to bump this up to 3 and take one of the Conros out, but 2 is working pretty fine for me. Skill is kind of +1, so +1. When this guy's placed on a rearguards, once per turn. Kind of +1, so +1. You can choose when your opponent one of your rearguards, and it gets plus 4,000 power and a new skill. And the new skill is activates on the Vanguard rearguard circle. Whenever this unit attacks a Vanguard, you can look at the top 5 cards of your deck and then search for a grade 3 Flame Dragon and add it to your hand. And then, yeah. So he's a grade 3 searcher that works on attack for another one of your rearguards. It's pretty useful, especially on turns that you use it with the legend, because you can search twice. But yeah, in events that you use the legend, I don't know how likely you are to hit another Flame Dragon, because you might have checked a lot of them already. But the extra 4,000 power is also not bad. So next we're running for Conro. This card searches for the legend, so if you don't want to ride the great, then you can search for the legend. It works on call, pretty much like the Stride Fodders. And then the second skill is retire this unit. Whenever you can choose one of your Overlord Vanguards, and then during this card it gets a new skill. And that skill is, when this card attacks, countercharge 2. So combo with the legend and the ace, you can countercharge 4. I guess it also works with the grade 2, because this one doesn't require you to have grade 4 Vanguard. While as this one requires a grade 4 Vanguard. Next, we're running 4 Perfect Guards. This is the prediction one. You can run the G one instead. I'm running these ones because, well, my G ones are in the cross deck, and I didn't take that apart. So, yeah. And I guess counter trading isn't too much of a problem since you have Conros. And they're also a Flame Dragon, so you can search for it with the ace, or the legend. Trigger lineup running a crit, 4 draw, 4 heal. Galleon Claws are pretty useful. Helps you get rid of annoying grade 0s. Like those ones are really important to the deck. So let's move on to the G zone. Sorry man, this is like just pretty tired, so I might sound really out of it, but I'm pretty out of it. But alright, let's move on to the G zone. So running 2 Root Flare. Skill is G flip Root Flare. So flip himself, and then if you have 2 or more face up cards in your G zone, then you can choose one of your opponent's rear guards, and then retire that unit and the unit in the same column as that. So you retire a whole column, and then you can't use the same effect that turn. So you're going to retire 1 column, which is fine. Running 2. The ace skill is counter loss 2. G flip himself. If you have 2 more face cards in your G zone, during this turn, this card gets a new skill, and he gets -1 drive check, so it becomes a twin drive. The new skill is once per turn, you can discard 1 card from your hand and 1 Overlord. So you discard 2, but 1 has to be Overlord. And when this card attacks at the end of the battle, you can stand this unit, and then this card gets +5,000 power. So the legend is, or the ace is a pretty good finisher. He's also pretty good at pushing, so but I'm only running 2 because running 4, I found myself not needing to use that many, and I'd rather run other stuff instead. But there might be something in this G zone that you might want to change. That being, instead of running 4 novels, you can personally take out 2 for 2 more to ace. But right now I'm testing 4 because I want to see how often my opponent actually uses the G Sentinels. And this is a pretty good way to test it out. So what he does is, the G Guardian, not G Sentinel. Once per turn, Dragonic 2, counter 1, G flip himself. He gets a new skill, and its new skill is when this card attacks, your opponent cannot call grade 1s to the Guardian Circle from their hand, I believe. Yes, from their hand. And then the second skill is when this card, when your opponent damage checks, when they're 5 damage or more, the triggers don't work, so they don't work. The main reason I'm playing 4 is because if your opponent doesn't have a perfect guard, or if your opponent doesn't have doesn't have a heal trigger, or they don't have enough triggers in their hand to guard with, then yeah, your opponent's gonna have a very hard time to guard against this, and you know, heals don't work, so that's pretty aight. And since you know G Guardians are still pretty new, I want to see like how probable it is that they get one. I don't know, it's a little thing I want to experiment, but you can run 4 the ace instead. I just personally don't find it that useful because all your other grade 3s can restand, and he's still twin drive, so yeah. In fact, you can run 2 less of this and run 2 more root flares if you want, but I don't recommend that. He's just a very good finisher, and it's kind of lost 1, so it's not expensive. And if your opponent lives the first time past this thing, he's probably not going to survive that the second time. Yeah. So next, we're running 1 Vortex. Skill is G flip 1 card, not himself. Doesn't have to be himself. And when this card attacks the, you can at the battle, this card gets a new skill, and when this card hits, for every flame dragon on your Vanguard circle, you can retire 1 of your opponent's grade 2 or the rear guards. So most of the time we're going to retire 2 cards, since you're going to have him and your heart. If you're in Legion, then you retire 3. Next, we're running 2 Resist. Skill is Soul Boss 1. When this card attack hits, you can choose one of your opponent's rear guards, and then retire all units in the same row as that card. So you can retire the whole back row, you can retire the front row. It's pretty cool. And you use them as a first ride. If your opponent has like 3 back rows, then you might want to use this card and like just wipe out the back row. But yeah, he's quite cool. You don't have to run 2. Main reason I'm running 2 is so you can flip 1 for Vortex skill. But yeah. Anyway, next running 1 Sea Breeze. It's to prevent people from grade locking you. Skill is activates from the G zone. Counter loss 2. Choose 1 card in your hand and discard it. If you're on grade 3 and you have 0 cards face up in your G zone, and your opponent is on grade 2 and they have not placed a card on the Vanguard circle during their ride phase, yeah, if they're grade 2 and if your opponent's grade 2 and they didn't ride that turn, then you can put this card in the Vanguard circle as Stride. So yeah, this card, I don't know, it works both ways, I guess. If your opponent's like legitimately grade stuck, then it's pretty bad for them. But if your opponent's grade locking you, then you can just use this card to be like, ha, nice try. So yeah, so you can still have access to your GB1 cards. For G Guardians, we're running one of the Dark Elemental. Skill is when this card's placed on Guardian Circle, you can choose one of your rear guards, and that unit cannot be targeted and it cannot be retired. Or yeah, that unit cannot be hit and it cannot be targeted by your opponent's card effects. So he's pretty much like a perfect guard for your rear guard, but he also acts as a 15k shield for your Vanguard. So it's pretty aight. And he also has resist, so that's quite useful against stuff that have units that retire stuff in Guardian Circle, I guess. Next, running one the Metal Elemental. Skill is discard one card from your hand, and when this card is placed on Guardian Circle, you might pay the cost if you do. This card has plus 10k shield, so it becomes a 25k shield. But you have to discard an extra card, so you have to ditch a heal trigger and an extra card from your hand. But I guess 25k shield is pretty good. Sort of serves as an extra perfect guard, except not as good. But it's fine. If you don't have a perfect guard in your hand and you have a heal trigger in your hand, then I guess he's okay. Next, we're running two of the clan-specific ones. We're running two of them. Skill is when this card is placed on a Guardian Circle, if your opponent has 4 or less rear guards, then this card gets an extra 5,000 shield, so it becomes a 20k shield. I don't really like this card. He's against decks that can call out units really easily. He's pretty much just a 15k shield. So hopefully they'll get a better one soon. I think they are, with the GBD07 coming out. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this deck. You guys requested it, and this deck is pretty fun to play. It's not super competitive because it gets crapped on by decks that have Rush, unless you draw into Neoflame or Neoflame, mostly Neoflame. And this deck doesn't really start picking up until like the grade 3. So, but yeah, it's still not bad of a deck. It's still quite fun, and you know, Withstanding for Days is pretty good. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this deck profile. Thanks for watching, guys. This is Cardfight, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.